This is Lolo Motoway Part 2, and both Part 1 and Part 2 are all about the average rider, which is me, and anybody who's curious about the terrain on the Lolo Motoway and whether or not they want to do it or can do it. If you're an average rider, like me, you can do it. Enjoy! So for Lolo Motoway Part 2, we parked our rig up at the Lolo Pass Visitor Center and then went down to the Laksa country store and their lodge, where we met this guy who was doing the Idaho BDR and burning through about a tire every day and a half. He was in great need of a tire. So we went back up to the visitor center where our rig was and where I happened to have a tire that would fit him. And away he goes for the rest of the Idaho BDR. The next morning was basically a deja vu. Back to the Laksa Lodge we went to fuel up and start our second day of the Lolo Motoway. Don't forget to hit subscribe and like to Janae's Day. Honestly, I'm not 100% sure I have these all in the correct order. The videos came down kind of crazy into my hard drive. But I do believe this is the beginning of the entrance that's more toward the Locha Lodge. And you can see it's pretty mild, but don't let the mildness fool you. It will eventually get rougher, but first it will get dusty. So try to be in the lead if you can. Will not get tired of looking at the pine trees that just soar up into the sky, and they're just standing straight as a soldier and proud as a soldier. So here comes the rough stuff, and it really does change this quickly, and I can't even imagine doing this when it's all wet and the ruts are, fresh and deep. But this road is traveled by all sorts of vehicles, large and small. So the ruts this time were hard ruts, and you just had to kind of zigzag back and forth. The other side, the Kamiya side, if you will, was a lot tougher because it was just a straight uphill of this. After you get out of the ruts, you're going to start to soar up the mountain, and the mountain is pretty rocky with a lot of loose gravel and some more ruts. And what makes this part tricky is it's a straight drop off. So messing up kind of is a high stakes game, if you will. I try to keep as far right as I can. My husband is a lot more experienced than I am, and he was able to ride the ridge a little bit and to try to get, a better vista point of what you see when you're on the Lolo Motoway. The steady incline that you saw is kind of an example of what you'll experience entering in from the Laksa side of the motorway. It's just steady. You kind of need to finesse the clutch a little bit, so just an idea of what you'll get. The constant climb, it can be a little tiring, but it never gets old. It's just nonstop beauty and ever-changing road conditions. So you definitely don't get bored. It's just sometimes can be a little challenging. The Motoway is not only a ride of beauty and adventure, it's a ride back into history. There are so many placards that will teach you the importance of this motorway to the Nez Perce, as well as the historic significance to the Lewis and Clark expedition. We found ourselves stopping quite a bit. It was just so hard to see all of this beauty and try to take pictures of it while we were riding. It's just kind of unbelievable, and of course, as always, the pictures don't do it justice. Okay, if you can, get ready to pause the video. Here is the Indian Post Office. If you can read this sign, you'll see the significance of it. If you stop and visit, you will feel the significance of it. It's a very spiritual place to the Nez Perce, and I could feel it as well. In addition, it was probably one of the first post office. They would leave communications here on the rocks, and then the people coming after them would pick up the communications. People would hike up here for both spiritual reasons and communications, as well as getting Indian medicine, as they called it. Sometimes when you're looking at the view, you have to pull back and see the flowers. You know, the forest through the trees? Well, this is the flowers through the trees. There was just an abundant amount of wildflowers. There's also little creatures, which on the motorcycle you have to dodge, but these were ptarmigans, I think, and a butterfly came to visit me as well. Looking ahead is important, but every once in a while, you should look in the rearview mirror. There's some pretty good views back there as well. You know what they say, what goes up must come down. As you start to descend, you're tired and the day is starting to end, but you're also disappointed because you know the ride's about to end as well. And you keep hoping, maybe it's just another one of those down and then we go up again, because that certainly does happen a lot on this ride. But eventually, you realize it's not, it's the end of the ride. So that's the end of Lolo Motoway Part 2 and the end of this video. But it's not the end of my rides. So hit subscribe and like at Janae's Day and catch up on the next ride, which I think will be Chloride Canyon in New Mexico. We'll see.